The Tecno Spark 40 series came this year and it is packed. Starting off the Tecno Spark 40, which I'm going to talk about, mainly seeing if this smartphone is really worth buying in 2025 and what are the downsides of buying this smartphone if you want to buy it. Because for a $90 smartphone, you might actually be surprised. Speaking, the price is very good. We're looking at it. This smartphone is not even above $100, but if you're in Zimbabwe or in any other African country that doesn't have an original Tecno store, you're going to buy it over $100, mainly because most of those phones that are coming into your country are going to be through resellers and not through Tecno themselves. So if you're in Nigeria or other African countries that actually have Tecno official company in there, you're going to be able to actually get through and get your smartphone at a very cheap price. The phone actually comes with an IP64 dust and splash resistant rating, meaning that this smartphone is not only dust resistant but is also water resistant, but to a certain length. Meaning that if you actually flood your own smartphone into a swimming pool, think that it will survive. I don't think at some points it might fail to do so. But right now, it can actually survive splashes, and to a certain depth, it will actually survive. Another thing is that you're also getting 2 nano SIM cards on this smartphone. You're getting stereo speakers, which sound really good, and this is very different from what you get with a mono speaker. There's also a headphone jack, meaning that crispy audio, especially if you have a microphone for your content creators, or even if you just want to use wired earphones, you're not going to have any problem at all. You also have a fingerprint sensor on the side as well as an IR blaster. If you don't know what an IR blaster is, an IR blaster will help you actually control your TV or decoder without using your remote. So basically, the Tecno Spark 40 can work as a remote for you. Display is actually packed with a 6.67-inch IPS LCD display, which has a refresh rate of 120 Hz, as well as a 720p resolution screen, which isn't really competitive in 2025, but considering the price is actually $90 or $95, depending on where you're buying it from a Tecno official store, I think we can actually say that Tecno tried their best to reach the price of $90. Smartphone is actually packed with Android 15 and iOS 15 and is working with the MediaTek Helio G81. And the MediaTek Helio G81 is basically a low entry chipset, meaning that you're going to need to have minor gaming, and the software is not going to be that smooth if you pack it with a lot of stuff. So buying this smartphone is someone who is on the normal usage side, not like me, because if you try to put Call of Duty Mobile in there, PUBG Mobile, or all those high intensive games which need a lot of processing power, you're not going to be able to do this. You're not going to be able to do that. So if you're buying this smartphone, know that it's not for the high intensive users. It's actually for some people who want it for normal usage. That's why the phone is actually $90. It's enough. So make sure that when you buy it, you won't complain in the future. So now we have to look at the camera. And the camera itself, I'm not gonna lie, the design obviously looks like the iPhone 17 Pro. And I think Tecno's whole thing right now was just to let's beat Apple to the race. Let's make an iPhone 17 Pro cheaper and the same as the leaks before Apple actually launches their own device. I don't know why they did this, but it is insane. So you get a 50 megapixel wide lens at the back, an auxiliary lens, as well as an LED flash at the back as well. This phone actually takes videos at 1440p at 13 frames per second and at 1080p at 30 frames per second. The selfie camera is also not the best. It's actually 8 megapixels, and you also get an LED flash at the front. For most Tecno phones, this is normal, but for some people, you might not know that this is actually normal. So for videos, you can also take selfie videos at 1080p at 13 frames per second. Basically, the camera is obviously from a low entry device, mainly because this phone is actually $90, meaning that the camera is not going to be that good, but it's that camera that you can actually get on a smartphone. It's not a camera that you're going to be using for or start a photography business or something like that, exactly what iPhone users normally do, but you're going to get this phone and actually take some decent photos. Not the best photos, but you're going to be able to take photos. I think that's the only simplest way that I can put it. And lastly, I would like to talk about the number one thing that I actually think that Tecno nailed when it came to making this smartphone. And it's obviously the battery. Well, Tecno Spark 40 comes with a 5200 milliamp hour battery, which charges at 45 watts wired. Meaning that this smartphone can actually charge over from 0 to 100 in somewhere around 30 to 40 minutes. I'm saying this out of my own belief, mainly because I actually have a Tecno Camon 30S and it charges from 0 to 100 in 30 minutes and it charges at 33 watts fast charging. The Tecno Spark 40 has 45 watts charging. They went all out when making the battery, and I think it's actually one of the best things about this phone, minus all the other gimmicky stuff that you're getting on this smartphone. And basically speaking, if you're someone looking for a budget smartphone that you actually want, or someone wants to buy a smartphone for your mom, mainly because she's not going to do a lot with it, I think the Tecno Spark 40 is the best phone for that. The only downside that you're gonna get on this smartphone is obviously number one is the camera, number two the processor if you're someone who is actually going to play a lot of good games on it. And another thing is with the processor is that it's not that fast as well, meaning that even if you're a normal user, the phone is still going to lag because of the processor. The best thing about this phone is obviously the battery. It lasts very long, since a 5200 milliamp hour battery. With my phone, the Tecno Camon 30S, I can actually spend the whole day using it from somewhere around 5 a.m. up to late evening around 6-7 p.m. That's when my phone actually dies, which means that if you're getting this smartphone with a 5200 milliamp hour battery, which is a bigger battery than mine by 200 mAh, I think this is actually a good smartphone. So that's the best thing about this smartphone. But if you want to buy it, make sure you know the downsides, which I talked about. So thanks so much for watching, and more videos coming soon. If you want to buy this phone, buy it, but please know the downsides.